everybody. It's Fit with Mugshot. Um, I'm gonna see if I can get on TikTok too. Before I couldn't get on YouTube now. Let's see here. Just be patient with me. Having technical difficulties this morning. Okay, so that's going. Okay, so I want to give an update on what's going on with Mugshot Mugs, and just my recovery and all that. Um, so God reveals things through us through scriptures, and we just happen to be going through um, these prophets in the Bible, like Obadiah and Joel. And so while reading through Joel, it just really struck me. This it just made me think about Albuquerque and what's going on in Albuquerque and probably a lot of other places. But you know, I was on the streets of Albuquerque homeless for 3 years, and I met a lot of people, and I know people that are still out there. And so that hits home to me, and I think about it, and um, so I just created these brochures that have my information on it and things that I did to get to where I'm at right now. Not that I'd recommend some of the places that I came out of necessarily, but some of the other places like going to detox and sticking with Crossroads Integrated Medicine is something that I have on that brochure, along with encouragement and um, just a little bit of direction. And some of it came from like Joel, where it's so basically in the book of Joel, Joel's asked to give the message to the people. This land where this plague of locusts uh, has caused devastation, and so it's calling the elders, it's calling the leaders, the priests, all the people to gather together to urgency to mourn over this and to take action. And so that's what I feel like I'm doing as much as I can with those brochures. Um, you know, um, this is something that's affecting everybody. Businesses are closing down. It's affecting property value. It's affecting the residents. Just as importantly, it's affecting, um, those who are on the streets and addiction and homeless. Um, so, sorry, trying to collect my thoughts here. So, anyways, this is something that I see and God speaking to me about, and I know I need to speak about it. So, I reached out to some public defenders' offices, and sent I've sent them my brochures and email, to give to their clients that they see in there, because I know they're defending cases like what I had, breaking and entering charges. I see some on there for shoplifting and stuff like that, just things that are just, possession charges, things like that, that just come from the circumstances, the situation, the devastation. So, so I sent it to the public defender's office and some city officials. I sent a message to the mayor's office, and they're really good about responding back. Of course, I get ridiculous nervous, explaining things doesn't come out like it is in my head and like how I know I'm supposed to, explain it. Which is incredibly frustrating for me, just because that's just how I am. I'm not good at public speaking or just speaking out. Period. I'm usually the quiet one who just watches and observes, and but I know I'm being called to speak out and about these things. Um, so I will do it the best of my ability and try to not get you know just um, just held back by this anxiety and you know not being very good at public speaking. So I'm trying to work on that and not let that hold me back, but get the message across the best I can. Um, so so yeah, like in Joel, like God's asking for all these people to come together and act, do something. Call these people to repentance, help them out. And not make situations worse. So we are to help these people on the streets the best way we can. Since I've been there, and I know I have experience with, first responders. I have experience with the bad side of them. Some that lack compassion, that probably have no business whatsoever being in public services. I've had, thankfully, more experiences with the good side of first responders, with those ones who have been very patient, compassionate, and kind. Those are the ones that stuck with me. Both of these experiences have. That's sort of where Mugshot Mugs was born. I want to put compassion in the hearts where there's no compassion. I want to put compassion in the hearts where maybe it's been corrupted from these interactions they have with humanity that they see the worst of. So they kind of just it's just been corrupted. And I hope through seeing me and seeing other people on these mugs who have been through recovery might stir some change in them to express more compassion, to have compassion and change their hearts, but also honor those first responders who do have that compassion, who do care, and who go through the same experiences as these other first responders, but they still have compassion and kindness towards others. And I really hope to, you know, get my brochures to them so when they have these interactions with these homeless people and uh, these people that are stuck in addiction and these cycles, that they can hand out these brochures with somebody that, maybe somewhat of a familiar face who's been there, so that, sparks some hope in them, and it has some encouragement and a little bit of direction to what worked for me. And, maybe that will stir something in them to make some sort of change and know that they can do it too. So, um, anyways, so I contacted them. They got back to me. The mayor's office got back to me, and they directed me towards what was it? The purchasing division, which I'm just kind of like, it just kind of sucks that I was redirected to another place. You know what I mean? But I know they just have procedures and stuff like that they have to go by. So, I'm gonna get the call to to call them and speak to them about my brochures, just because I'm not exactly in the position. I wish I could have, have funding for a facility, or, just more ability to do better outreach for people down the streets, just even to convey this message to them, to call out to God, to seek Him, ask Him for His help, and let Him direct them to where they need to be at, But also, I want to be able to have a voice to these facilities that are being funded, but scaring people away and not doing what they're being funded for. It's a total injustice. and it will scare people away from getting help. And we don't need anything else against, getting help. So, I just wish I could kind of be a voice and just have a little bit more of a platform, or just the ability to share this information and reach out to these people. Uh, but I'm also following, God's instructions. I believe in what I'm supposed to do. So, so that's what's going on with that. Um, I kind of just woke up early this morning with that in mind. It just reminded me of Joel, and uh, I mean, it's just absolutely what's going on in the streets. Uh, you see these businesses shut down. They're always talking about it in such a negative way on the news about how these homeless are just, negatively affecting them. But what are people doing about it? Um, and are people checking up on these facilities that they're funding? And just um, there's these people that are on their streets, really young people, uh, and they're addicted to this horrible drug, and they're just stuck in this cycle of addiction. And it's so much more of a complex thing than just people choosing to be on drugs or choosing to be in this state. You know what I mean? Like that's not the case. There's so much more behind it. Some people come from such trauma, or this idea that this is normal. Because of their upbringing, because of these cycles, and these patterns that need to be broken. And I know it's through God that we can do these things, but we need to get that message out there. And we need to understand that it's all of us, we're all connected, and we need to take part of this and not sweep it under the rug, and not have such a harsh view on what's going on out there. We need to have the eyes of God and understand that this is a problem, and these people need help, and they deserve to be clean and sober. Just I've met so many great people out there, so many intelligent people, creative people, loving people, and it's hard to see that when they're, doing these things just to survive out there and feed their addiction. But it doesn't change the fact that they're good people, with such good potential. So we all just need to recognize that, see that, and take action and intervene. At the very least, pray for these people. But at the end of Joel, God does promise restoration, and that He will restore these things. And I do believe that in Albuquerque, things will get better. But we all need to participate and help in that. Um, so I'm doing what I can, and that is to share these videos, um, and pray, and um, just keep hope. I'll share the brochures with what I can. If the city doesn't approve them and want them, that's fine. I'll send them out to other people. Um, Whenever I have the opportunity, I will pass them around places in Albuquerque for people to see. That's what I can do. I don't know. I'm on here. If anybody can give me any feedback or anything like that, I'd be happy to hear it. My email is brewedforbravery@gmail.com. You can also message me on there. I can also send you the brochures, if you're willing to help pass them out too, or interested in them. I'm still waiting on my heat press. It seems like it's taking so long to get that in, so I can start making tumblers to hopefully, fund mugshot so I can, build it up. But that's where I'm at right now. So I'm praying for Albuquerque. If there's anyone here from Albuquerque, that I'm praying for you. I hope you're praying too, and I hope to hear from you guys. So So yeah, pray for me too, that I get better at, speaking these messages to people and getting my point across. I believe in mugshot mugs, and I believe in its mission, and that hasn't changed. I'm for recovery and um, you know honoring first responders and bringing compassion to first responders. I've dealt with a lot of APD and UNM police. To the point where, for the most part, you know what I mean, like. I have a good imprint on my heart for them, like sentimental, because I spent so much time out in the streets and these interactions, it just became like those were the familiar faces to me. And I really do believe it takes a village, and I just have um, this dream just of having just this, tight knit community, and just making these changes and helping one another and loving our neighbor like we're asked to. Um, just having this sense of protection for one another and love for one another. All right, guys. Well, I better get off here. Um, but I hope to hear from you guys. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you later. God bless you. Bye.